9 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Get Down to Business with Shalom Klein, the show for business and jobs powered by Tandem HR. Heard Sunday evenings at 6.
Don't miss Sean Hannity, Michelle Malkin, and Laura Logan at Freedom Summit 2019. Get your tickets today at freedomsummitchicago.com.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The lungs of the world are on fire. The lungs of the earth are in flames, specifically, verbatim, what Leo DiCaprio tweeted with respect to the fires in the Amazon rainforest. This, an issue at the G7, scratching together $20 million to send to Bolsonaro in Argentina if he and Macron can stop arguing about whose wife is prettier long enough.
Whose wife is hotter, and leave the ladies out of it.
So all of this talk about Trump not attending the climate breakout session during the G7, where's the U.S. leadership on combating the fires in the Amazon? The lungs of the earth are in flames. New York Times. If enough rainforest is lost, it can't be restored. The area will become savanna, which doesn't store as much carbon, meaning a reduction in the plant's lung capacity. Sounds authoritative. And then there's the science. And then there's the truth. Start with these idiot celebrities, amplified by the idiot, lazy, ignorant journalists. The photos that were tweeted out by Madonna and Jaden Smith and Leo and soccer star Ronaldo, another dingbat, weren't actually any of the fires.
What?
They weren't even in the Amazon. The photo,
stock photos from somewhere?
The photo Ronaldo shared was taken in southern Brazil, far from the Amazon, in 2013. The photo that DiCaprio and Macron shared is more than 20 years old. The photos that Madonna and Jaden Smith shared is more than 30 years old. Some celebrities shared photos from Montana, India, and Sweden, talking about the Amazon rainforest fires. This just in, don't believe everything you see tweeted or posted, and certainly consider the source. But what about the claims made by journalists who, by the way, New York Times, CNN also debunked a lot of those photos? That was to give them standing to offer their own pronouncements that need to be debunked. Michael Schellenberger, who writes on climate and the environment at Forbes, he talked to one of the world's leading Amazon forest experts, a gentleman named Dan Nepstad. What about the idea that the Earth's lungs are on fire? It's bulljive, said Nepstad. There's no science behind that. The Amazon produces a lot of oxygen, but it uses the same amount of oxygen through respiration, so it's a wash. What about the New York Times claim that, if enough rainforest is lost, it can't be restored, the area will become savanna, which doesn't store as much carbon, meaning a reduction in the planet's lung capacity? Also not true, said Nepstad, who is a lead author on the most recent Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report. The Amazon produces a lot of oxygen, but so do soy farms and cattle pastures. CNN ran a long segment with the banner, "Fires burning at record rate in Amazon forest." While a leading climate reporter on CNN, the current fires are without precedent in the past 20,000 years.
So USA Today is wrong, too, saying animal, plants, and humans would all face dire consequences if the Amazon rainforest vanished. Talking about absorbing carbon dioxide.
Right. If the world ended, things would, people, plants, and animals would face dire consequences. Yes. But of course, if you start from a junk premise, you get a junk conclusion. The Amazon forest isn't going away. And the fires?
Oh, you know who they were started by? Activists who were upset that there is cattling going on and ranchers moving into the Amazon.
Wrong. Ronald Bailey, writing in Reason.com. When NASA released the satellite image on August 21st, it noted that it's not unusual to see fires in Brazil at this time of year due to high temperatures and low humidity.
Dry season.
Time will tell if this year is record breaking or just within normal limits. Time will tell. That's a week ago. And yet CNN is pronouncing the greatest number of fires in 20,000 years. What? Why are there so many fires? Natural fires in the Amazon area are rare. The majority of these fires set by farmers preparing Amazon-adjacent farmland for next year's crops and pasture. Much of the land that is burning was not old-growth rainforest, but land that had already been cleared of trees and set for agricultural use. What about deforestation trends? Ronald Bailey, also expert in this space. Rainforest deforestation rates have increased a bit, but they're still way below earlier highs. Go on here. The number of fires in 2019 is 80% higher than in 2018, but just 7% higher than the average over the last 10 years, according to Dan Nepstad. One of Brazil's leading environmental journalists agrees the media coverage of the fires has been misleading. It was under Lula and the former environmental secretary that Brazil had the highest incidence of burning, 2003 to 2008. But neither Lula nor Marina, the secretary of the environment there, was accused of putting the Amazon at risk. It's all politics, is the point. Insane. Oh, by the way, this against the backdrop of CNN, back-to-back town halls. Set your calendars. Wednesday, September 4th, next Wednesday, taking audience questions about their climate, about the POTUS candidates, socialist POTUS candidates' climate plans. 7-hour climate crisis town hall.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. 7 hours, 10 socialists talking about the end of the world. Make sure you tune in.
Well, don't have your kids watch because then they won't be able to sleep at night because kids are, they're vulnerable and they believe what some people say.
How about having your kids read? How about giving your kids the information that the socialists won't consume? Have you seen this? According to updated NOAA data, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration data, there's been no warming in the United States since at least 2005. Good piece by a couple of environmental scientists, one at the University of Virginia, the other at American University, about the great failure of climate models over the last 40 years. And on and on and on. Will any of this be forced into those town halls for reaction on the merits, not reaction with the end of the world eschatological demagoguery that you get from these cranks? And they are cranks. And so is anybody else in your social circle that's influencing your kids. Force this information on them. Respond to the science, to the data, to the experience. As opposed to just going, over the edge like a bunch of lemmings behind Bobby O or any of these others. It's insane.
I did have them read the Atlantic article, what you're referencing, that, humans could burn everything on the planet and still not dent its oxygen supply.
In a related story, because this will create a hue and cry too. Oh my gosh, the Amazon rainforests are burning to the ground, and here in this country we have Trump giving the green light to the logging industry in Alaska, and good for President Trump. He's instructed Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue to exempt Alaska's 16.5 million acre Tongass National Forest. I've been there. From logging restrictions imposed nearly 20 years ago. And this is at the behest, by the way, of the Alaskan governor, Mike Dunleavy, even Murkowski, pressed Trump to exempt their state from a rule so that the logging industry can access the forest and, by the way, of course, be better steward of the environment than all these Democrat socialists and all these environmental activists, because it's in their business interest to be stewards of the environment. More on this topic We're pleased to be joined by Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist and economist, author of the book Trumponomics: Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys. I'm in Chicago today. It's not that hot.
No, it's
Oh,
nice.
it's lovely.
No, it's nice. And there's been no warming over the last
beautiful
15
summer
years.
day.
See where you're going with that.
I love, by the way, I just listened to your commentary there, guys, and I don't know if you saw the Wall Street Journal editorial. I think it was yesterday or the day before, but the fact that they've all these photographs and all of the film
fakes
of the fires were not even from this year. They're from, some of them are like 15, 20 years old. I mean, talk about this, and that's just dishonesty. There's here are the forest fires in Brazil. Oh, no, that's actually from 15 years ago.
Well, yeah, right. Some of the photos aren't even from that continent. I mean, in addition,
Exactly.
it's so ridiculous. You would think this would discredit some of these otherwise vaunted commentators, many from Hollywood, others from leftist politics, but it just doesn't. There's just sort of no amount of data, no amount of information, no amount of fraud exposed that seems to shame or reduce the coverage of those people predicting end times.
Well, here's what my take on this. I'm not a climate expert. I will say this though, that it's a quiz question for. I think you know the answer to this one, Dan. But Amy, I'm not sure, so I'm going to direct this one to you. Do you know what country of all the industrialized nations in the world over the last 2 years has reduced its carbon emissions the most?
United States of America.
Yay!
Hey!
I bet 80% of people don't know that. How would they know it? The press never reports that. Now, Amy, for a bonus, a signed copy of Trumponomics
Thank
for free. How is it that we've reduced our our greenhouse gas emissions?
Using alternative
It's a
energy,
two-word
wind
answer.
farms,
Natural gas.
natural gas.
No, you are
Fracking.
wrong. Not wind farms.
Frickin' fracking. Huh? What?
Natural gas. We are producing, thanks to fracking and thanks to horizontal drilling and so on, we're producing more natural gas than any other country in the world. We're converting natural gas. By the way, natural gas is now 80% cheaper than it was 10 years ago. The idea that we should produce more windmills is so stupid when we have a hyperabundance of natural gas. But natural gas, when you think about it, is a wonder fuel. It is abundant. It's made in America, it's reliable, it's cheap, and it's clean burning. It's everything you would possibly want in a fuel, and if you're concerned about global warming, you would want to produce more and more natural gas, and yet the left is against natural gas. Now, here's the other thing that nobody is mentioning at all, and I bet it will not come up at all in these climate change debates that they have on CNN. The country, even the United States, it reduced its emissions to zero. Even if the United States didn't even exist as a nation, it would make almost no difference with respect to the greenhouse gas emissions because of one country. You know what country that is?
China.
China. Their emissions are so
gigantic.
gigantic. By the way, every time we shut down a coal plant in the United States, China builds 10 of them. I mean, it's just the most idiot. The only way you're going to ever reduce greenhouse gas emissions is by doing something about China. But, of course, they don't do it. And, by the way, China's just – the big joke is China's actually a signatory to the Paris Climate Accord. They're laughing all the way to the bank.
Well, here's the thing. All we have to do is lead the deindustrialization of the world. If we deindustrialize, then everybody will deindustrialize, and then we can live in
exactly.
deindustrialized nirvana.
Beijing, the President Xi says to the Europeans and to the Americans, okay, you jump off that cliff, and then we'll be right behind you. And of course they're not going to do that. All China cares about is economic development and taking over the world. They don't care about climate change. I mean, people. The problem with a lot of the environmentalists, they believe what they want to believe, not what's true. And when it comes to the intentions of countries like China, India, Vietnam, those countries are just massively producing greenhouse gases. And, as I've said, it would be like saying, gee, I think overpopulation is a big problem in Africa, so I'm going to wear a condom.
All right, President, I was thinking about you, Stephen Moore, when President Trump, I think it was on Friday, that wanted, pretty much said he could order U.S. companies to leave China. What did you think of that statement?
Well, I don't think the president has the right to do that. I do think China's a bad actor. I think they've doubled down. I think the Chinese Communist Party has taken back over. control there. I am concerned about countries like Google that go over there and surrender their technologies and actually seem to be, in some cases, undermining U.S. national security. So I would like to see American companies act more patriotically and maybe get behind Trump in this trade war. This is a big battle, and I'm praying that we get a deal. I mean, you guys know I want a deal. I want China to reduce their tariffs. I want the United States to reduce its tariffs. I want China to stop stealing. It would be great for the world economy. Both countries' economies would explode if we could get this deal done. But I'm getting less and less sanguine about this. I mean, I don't think the Chinese care that it's doing great damage to their economy. It seems like they want to wait out Trump.
He is Steve Moore, Wall Street Journal columnist and economist. The book, Trumponomics, Inside the America First Plan to Revive Our Economy. Send that free signed copy to Amy, Steve.
Yes.
Okay, guys. And by the way, there is no recession. There is no recession. All right. All I'm hearing on these recession, no recession.
All right. Well, glad to hear that. Thanks for joining us.
No recession. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them.